in Baltimore Day, and college is over now. We've only got one game left 2 weeks from now, and Luke Jones and I will be broadcasting live from Super Bowl 52 out in Minnesota at the Mall of America all week long. And tell you what, the Philadelphia Eagles will be there, and I can only think of a couple occasions in my life. I think I've told everyone I love the Philadelphia Phillies in the early 80s and the Philly Fanatic in the 83 World Series. I had a soft spot for Mike Schmidt and Steve Carlton and all them. But I don't know that I've ever, other than that, I love Dr. J too. I will say that I was always a Chocolate Thunder and Dr. J fan back in the day, probably because I didn't like the Lakers or the Celtics either. But this guy here and I have spent many years now, going on 30. I've known him 33 years, and I've hated the Flyers all 33 years. I don't think there's ever been an occasion where I've rooted for the Philadelphia Flyers against anyone, including the Edmonton Oilers or the Detroit Red Wings. I did root for the Flyers when Terry Murray coached for them for 5 minutes. So, Ed Frankovic, I will say that, bless me, Father Ed, I have sinned. I have rooted for the Flyers once when Terry Murray was there, based on friendship. And I would say, based on my friendship with Jim Schwartz, I will be rooting for the Philadelphia Eagles. I think we're going to decorate our set green next week in honor of him and Torrey Smith and the rest. But the Flyers did the Caps dirty before the party got started on Sunday. So those Philadelphia people, they had double duty on Sunday. They beat the Caps, and now they're going to the Super Bowl. It was a good day to be a Philadelphian on Sunday, right?
Yeah, and like you, Ness, I don't hold any disdain for the Eagles fans. They're in the other conference. We've always been Baltimore AFC guys. So
I mean, they gave us John Harbaugh, right?
Yeah, good for the Eagles. Yeah. Harbaugh won us the Super Bowl, and I have no disdain for the
and
Philadelphia
Joe Flacco. Eagles. Philadelphia gave us Joe Flacco.
Yeah,
right. They gave us Fang Mitchell. I mean, I know Philadelphia's given us some good things beyond tasty cakes, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
But they also had Rick Tocchet. And Ron Hextall, and Brian Propp, and Tim Kerr, and Eric Lindros,
and Ron
Hextall, and the Broad Street Bullies, and all of those guys. I mean, so I watching the Caps lose to the Flyers before the party began in overtime, that never feels good. But they got a point, right?
I was pretty disgusted, as you know, from following my Twitter feed. There's nothing I dislike more than losing to the Philadelphia Flyers, and I'm pretty unhappy with the way this Capitals team is playing the last 5 games. And you can make excuses about the bye week disrupting things, and it absolutely did. But anybody who follows this team and watches, and I think it's really important that fans go out and before they watch the games, watch the 30 minutes before the game with Alan May and Rob Carlin, because Alan May diagrams plays and he shows you the way they're playing and the mistakes they're making. And these things continue. You and I have talked about them for quite some time, the overpassing, but some of the things that are really disturbing is the peelbacks on the boards and the passes across the ice when they come across the blue line and the failure to shoot or the waiting too long. The Montreal Canadiens, specialized one way to beat the Caps back in 2010 by blocking shots, packing it in, and the Canadians did a lot of that on Friday in defeating the Caps. And then the Flyers took a page out of that book and blocked 19 shots by the Caps on Sunday. And the Corsi crowd, the analytics crowd, will sit there and look and say, hey, the Capitals outshot attempted the Flyers on Sunday. They played better. Yeah, they played better than Friday, but they're not. Their game is nowhere near where it needs to be if they want to really solidify this division and do something in the playoffs. So I'm a bit disgusted with the way the Capitals are playing right now, and anybody that watched Alan May's pregame show yesterday and watched those video clips, they'll know why.
Well, they had a week off, right? And we talked about this last week, and I almost tracked down Trotzy, last week to put him on for a couple days because we did have that downtime on the backside of going down to Carolina and getting a pretty nice win after the home and home with them where they got pushed around that first night. But they have not looked the same since the Vancouver game. They've now lost 4 out of 5. We were talking about them really coming into some fresh oxygen last week, right? Like we were, they got a week off. Yeah, I mean, they're playing great hockey right now. And all of a sudden, a couple of overtime all of these were 1-goal losses. All of these were close enough games where, unlike the Vikings, who, they're going to lick their wounds and we're going to be sad they're not there next week, they didn't come close to getting there. With the Caps, they've been in all these games, which I think is the frustrating part of losing an overtime game or having a game forced to overtime, as in the Devils game the other night, where you don't want to see that. You should win that game in regulation.
You're absolutely right, Ness. The talent is there. That's the frustrating part. They have a lot of talent. And it starts, for me, the problems start with Kuznetsov. And I know we talk about him a lot, but he refuses to play the proper way. It's constant peelbacks, turnovers, circling around the net, passing up shots in the slot. He's just not playing the right way, and it's trickling to others in the lineup. And the Capitals will get together on Monday and look at film. They're off on Monday. They don't play again till Thursday against Florida, and then it's another break because we've got the All-Star game this weekend, and then they don't play then their next game is until Wednesday against the Flyers. So they've got one game in 9 days. So the coaching staff has a lot of time to look at film and analyze what's going on, and they're going to see the chinks in the armor and the mistakes they're making. And it's not talent. They are not losing on talent at all. This is a very, very talented hockey team. And despite the fact that they're 1-2-2 in their last 5, they still got a 5-point lead in the division. But again, we've seen good regular seasons. We've got to get the habits the right way going into the playoffs. And
they're not going to win every night. I mean, let's start with that, right? They're going to lose some games. It's where's the effort level, and where was the breakdown, and where's the mistake, and more than that, where's the improvement, right? Like, how are they going to play this better when they see the Flyers for a straight week in April, if that's what it comes to? And I know, look, the Flyers got their own problems at this point, as well as all those teams that are hovering around toward the bottom. The Caps don't want to be that team. They're feeling pretty comfortable right now about their playoff position, but you start to lose 4 and 5 nights, all of that starts to dissipate a little bit, and you're going to see these teams. I don't think the Canadians are one of the teams you're going to see, and New Jersey might be one of the teams you're going to see for a straight week. They got to play better than they played against New Jersey the other night.
For sure, and the Canadians they're not going to make the playoffs. They're out. And the Capitals' effort was pitiful against Montreal. It was better on Sunday, but not where it needs to be. And you could be skating hard but playing the wrong way. It's the mental side of the game that I think the Capitals have lost since that Vancouver game. That Vancouver game was a very well played game. The Capitals played their system. They dominated. That could have been easier, 5 or 6-1. But since then, it's been very malaise, if you will. They've been a lot of turnovers. A lot of trying to make the fancy play. They get into this Harlem Globetrotter mentality, I'll call it. They try to want to score the pretty goal.
Yeah, they're trying to make the net completely empty, right? I mean, instead of some anticipation. I would agree with you. They're waiting for a point-blank kind of open net that doesn't appear in the NHL very often, right?